There you go. I knew I had a reminder somewhere after about 30 minutes. All good though. Okay. We'll also be taking breaks. So the break will probably be around 2:30 to 3 o'clock. And for today, in most classes, it'll be a 15-minute break, 15 to 20-minute break. And I ask people to be punctual, please, as punctual as you possibly can. Next, we are requiring that everyone has Figma. Okay, I'm not sure if that's new or not, but you can click on that link and it's a direct link to Figma. And I do know that they offer student discounts or educational discounts, but we're going to do most of our class, most of our working stuff in Figma. So we do require Figma. Adobe is great and very useful, but I know Adobe can get pretty expensive for students. So I don't know if I'm not really requiring Adobe for this class. I mean, again, it would be useful. And then I had a link here to the current student gallery that's on the website, so you can get a little inspiration. All right. Important dates. Student drop deadline, February 14th. Withdrawal deadline, 4/18, last day of semester. 6/2, Lincoln Day, 2/14. Oh, Lincoln Day's on, I think I got that right. Washington Day, 2/17. Spring break is 3/31 through 4/4, and Memorial Day is 5/26. All right, let's get into the course overview. This course is the first in a series of interaction design courses. Students explore the fundamentals of interaction design process and methodologies in the context of web design. Emphasis is placed on using research and strategy to create strong information architecture and responsive website layouts. Topics include current industry software, research, strategy and processes. We touch on accessibility and prototyping. This course is intended for graphic design students, interaction design students, and anyone interested in interaction design. Objective. 1, website design. Examine current design standards and conventions for websites and build an audience-specific interactive experience. Information architecture. Analyze site structure and flow to assess best practices for an ideal user experience. Outcomes. Analyze strategies for creating effective website content, organize and prepare website components, plan and compose responsive website layouts, compose websites with a focus on accessibility, and do great work and have fun. Don't forget that. Again, I know things can get a little stressful at times, but just remember, we're not saving lives. You don't work in the ER, okay? Nobody's dying. So we're going to have fun doing this, all right? Oh, whoops. This slide should have been moved up past my work, so all good. I'll fix it later. This is some AI work I did. And I use AI a lot, and I highly encourage everyone to utilize AI. There is no reason to be afraid of AI. As a matter of fact, hold on, let me just move it. Let me move it down. Give me a second. There you go. Honestly, let me just move it down here. Give me 1 second here. I'm just moving the slides so I can talk a little bit more. There you go. All right. So there's no reason for anyone to be afraid of AI. I'm telling you, I'm sorry. I know other people have different opinions about it, but I've done a lot of speaking on AI. I've done a lot of research on AI. I have been hired to do many AI projects, creating imagery, doing fashion shows with AI, and I still have a job. So utilize it as a tool, just like we utilized computers back in the day, and also websites. When everybody was freaking out about websites and that it was going to take everybody's job, and it never did, it actually created jobs. I feel that it's the same way with AI. It's just going to create new jobs. So don't be afraid of it. Utilize it. And some of our website AI sources, and I'll kind of go through this. Since I was talking about AI, I use Midjourney a lot. I use ChatGPT a lot. Leonardo.ai, I was using it for a little bit, but I don't really like the quality of the imagery that it creates. I don't think it's as realistic, and I just don't get results like I do with Midjourney. And then there's also Google AI. So Google Labs has a ton of different resources that they provided for AI. This image on the right is purely AI. I did a series of electric SUVs for Hyundai. I just kind of came out, I was like, I'm going to design some SUVs that kind of look a little bit like Rivian, but also like the new Bronco. And I just created this whole series, and I just have fun doing it. Website sources up at the top, you kind of backtrack a little bit. Awards is a great resource for website research and inspiration. Dribbble is also one that's got a ton of wonderful content on there that people share. This one website, Godly, and then also Site Inspire are also really good resources to look for inspiration and just kind of educate yourself. All right. And then finally, week 1. And we're gonna jump over to the syllabus. We're gonna look at the syllabus, and then we're also gonna look at the assignment. And I have 2 PDFs that I already shared on Canvas. And if you have any trouble finding them, just let me know and I'll email them out or whatever. But I do believe that I made them already public. So we got two lectures this week. We are doing the one right now, Introduction to Web Design, and then the one on Wednesday, I'm going to do Web Design Process. Our assignments, the first assignment is to select a corporate company to redesign. We'll get a little bit more into that at the end of this presentation. And then you're also going to start a creative questionnaire this week. And we'll also provide that creative questionnaire. I'll show it to you, and I'll show you how to duplicate it to create your own. Okay, pause, because I need a break from talking. I've already been talking for a solid 37 minutes. Questions? Take a moment. Take some. Anybody got any questions? Comments? Anything?
Yes. I was wondering about some input from you on AI,
Okay.
because one of the reasons I don't use it is the ethical concerns that
Good.
the models have stolen intellectual property. So what is your take on that whole, because a lot of people don't use it for the same reason.
Sure. So I'll use this as an example. Have you ever listened to music that sampled other music?
Yes.
There you go. I noticed you have Opiate Tool album right behind you. A big fan of Tool.
My favorite one.
I am very, very sure that Tool has probably sampled and been inspired by other music out there, along with Dave Grohl. So there's an interview that he talks about how their most famous song smells like Teen Spirit, and how his entire drum beat is sampled from an old kind of 70s funk band. Do you listen to Nirvana?
I not regularly, but I love Nirvana. Yeah, I don't like that song though.
So I love this question because it's a very powerful question. But I use that as kind of an example that everything is sampled, everything is researched, everything is inspired in a little borrow. So that's kind of my response to sort of the ethics of the topic that you talked about. Now, one thing just to follow up on that, and Melinda, I see you raised your hand, so thank you. One thing is, when it comes to especially Midjourney, you don't own that work. So technically, you're not allowed to sell it. You're not supposed to sell. And companies are not allowed to hold copyrights to this kind of stuff. So technically, like free music or free imagery out there or borrowed stuff, if you're using it in the right ethical way and you're not trying to resell it, then you're just using it as a resource. So that's kind of my answer to that. And sorry, was that Melinda? Okay, Melinda, thank you. Yes.
My question's pretty simple. Could you go back to the slide with the website sources? I was just about to screenshot it.
Sure. And I'm going to provide this, Melinda. You're going to get a link to this presentation, and you're going to get all this stuff. Sound good? Good. Awesome. Good question, Carl. Anybody else with a question before we get started?
What are your thoughts on AI as far as the environmental impact of how much energy it takes to run the supercomputers and the amount of water used to cool them?
Good question. Is it Caroline?
Carolyn?
Carolyn. Okay, thank you so much. Carolyn, honestly, I don't have a educated enough response for you because I know that there's so many different kind of thinking and answers to that. So, I mean, because it ends up sometimes being a much broader conversation than I think we would have time for in this class, because we could talk about a lot of other things that sort of relate to that environmental impact.
I use it with guilt.
Hey,
I heard an analogy that said every 1 to 3 searches is like pouring 16 ounces of water onto the sidewalk. And so I think about that when I do my searches.
Well, thank you for sharing that. I know that there's a lot of sort of feedback and information out there, and I would say that I recommend anybody that might have any kind of concerns around that, then just don't use it. If that's something that you feel strong about, then just don't use it. I just introduce it as a tool that you can use. It's like my big toolbox out in my garage whenever I make furniture. Sometimes I just don't like some tools and they just don't work. So it's a tool that you can use or not use. Good. But I can say this, it is something we can't deny. So it is a part of our world and everything else that's happening. So okay, good. Those are all good. All right. No more? That it? All right. Cool. We're going to move into the lecture now. So introduction to web design. I like this image because I used this image even way back in the day whenever I was teaching this, and I had to like scrounge it up on Google again to try to find it. I think it's impactful whenever I kind of talk about and I explain what is web design. Web design is the process of creating the visual layout, user interface, and overall aesthetics of websites. It includes planning, conceptualizing, and organizing content, while also considering usability, accessibility, responsiveness, and development. And why this Swiss Army knife is kind of a powerful image is because as a interaction design problem solver, you really need a lot of different tools to solve problems in what we do. It's really not just 2 tools. It's not 3 tools. You end up having to like access so many different tools to be able to solve a problem sometimes. So there is really no one tool. And then also remember this, sometimes the tool you use is different than the tool the other person is going to use, because we all solve problems differently. And remember that, like, that's a really important thing to sort of like kind of bookmark in moving into this class, is don't ever feel like that how you're solving a problem is either right or wrong compared to somebody else. We all solve problems differently, and we solve problems differently because of how we think and the experiences that we have. So I like this image so much because it's important to have a lot of tools in your toolbox. And to go back to the AI discussion, learn AI. You don't have to use it, but at least when you have a resume and you go and apply for a job and they say, hey, do you know Midjourney? You go, yeah, I know Midjourney. But I don't, you might not always use it, but at least you know it. Okay? So I just highly encourage you to have as many tools in your toolbox as possible. Right? So front-end design. Let me get a sip of water here. So front-end design refers to the practice of creating the visual and interactive aspects of a website that users interact with directly and basically see, right? So it involves the layout, style, and functionality of web pages, and also apps. Don't forget apps, but we're not necessarily doing apps, but I just throw that in there. Ensuring they are visually appealing, user-friendly, and responsive across various devices. Because we're going to get into a brief history of the internet. And I like to show this comparison slide. The computer on the left, when I started at Citi, which was 94, I think it was 94. This is the computer I first started learning on. This is the first computer they had in the computer lab with Candace. Candace was teaching me. She was the only teacher back then, I think. And I had to take a computer class. And this was the computer that they taught us on. I know. Bree, you're going, wow, I know. Guess what? It wasn't color either. It was like literally a black and white TV. It's so old school. So this is what I learned on. And then this is what we got right now. And this is what everybody spends their time on. Hardly anybody spends time on desktop computers anymore. But this is what we live in, are these mobile devices. So Pablo, were you raising your hand or just stretching? Just stretching?
Sorry, just stretching. Yeah,
Good.
sorry.
Okay.
Sorry about that.
Just want to make sure. Thank you. Okay. So I like to pause on this because, man, like my wife and I were sounding really old the other day, and we were just kind of talking about like all of the technology that we've experienced in our lifetime has been tremendous. It's just mind-blowing, the technology that I have experienced in my 50 years. Because literally, like, I have lived in the technology age, and it's still, right? It's always changing. And I say this with reverence. If you don't like change, if it causes you pain and discomfort, interaction design is going to be really hard for you. Because our world changes all the time. It's always changing. And we're experiencing it now with AI. We're experiencing it now with like TikTok being banned, or like all these things, they could just change and turn off just like that. So, if change is a very uncomfortable thing for you and you struggle with, I highly suggest that, you understand that that's going to be a challenge throughout your entire career because things change all the time, all the time. I went from fixed websites from the very beginning of websites to where things are now. And that's the one thing you have to be is adaptable. Always got to be adaptable. All right. So Bradford, this is Bradford. I'm sure you guys take classes with Bradford. Bradford, this is part of Bradford's kind of curriculum of this class because I took this over from him. And I think Bradford likes a lot of history. So I got to walk you through a little bit of history here. This is not the interaction of, I think, your brain. This is the internet at the beginning. This is the beginning of the internet. So the internet grew out of a U.S. Department of Defense network project called ARPANET or something like the ARPA net, which debuted in the late 1960s. So think of the internet as literally a network and services or protocol run over that network, email, news groups, FTP, and the web. I always think it's interesting. When you look at this, it literally looks like your brain's electric activity. When you see a scan of how our brains work and how electricity is mapping out through our brain, it's actually almost identical to the way this looks. It's pretty trippy. We won't get into that stuff, I promise. So this guy, Tim, invented the World Wide Web in 1989. So at a nuclear research facility in Switzerland, he saw it as a means to connect databases of documents through hyperlinks. The web is 35 years old this year. I bet he did it in his garage like every other entrepreneur and CEO out there, right? Everybody starts in the garage for some reason. I don't know why. All right. Even though Tim wrote a paper describing the web in 1989, he still had to write all the software to support it, including the first web browser. So it was called the World Wide Web, and he finished it by the end of 1990. The first web browser was also an editor, which encouraged people to look at the source code behind web pages and learn how to code pages themselves. This was the ethos built into the beginnings of the web. You could always see the code. I'm sure glad we don't have to do that today, man. Ugh, ugly. So this is the very first web page, man. Look at that. Don't you guys wish we could go back to this? Just text, just links. Ooh. So this is the first web page. Notice how simple it was. Just text, blue underlining words indicating they were hyperlinks to other documents. My goodness. And this was one of the first web browsers. So before images and other media could be displayed on web pages, compressed file formats had to be invented. So JPEGs wasn't invented until 1992. And browsers had to support embedded graphics. That's what the first mainstream browsers called NCSA Mosaic did. So Mosaic was developed at the University of Illinois by two developers. One of them, Mark Anderson, would go on to start a new company called Netscape. Anybody know Netscape? Anybody remember what Netscape was? No. It's one of the first web browsers out there, along with like, Microsoft and all those web browsers. So
I'm old
those
enough
are
to.
some of the first ones. Yes.
I'm old enough to remember.
Oh, good. I'm glad one of us, somebody out there is at least close to my age. You too, Pablo?
Yeah.
Okay. Good. All right. So next. 1994, W3C, World Wide Web Consortium, was founded to create standards for website development. The use of tables was standard during this era to structure HTML into columns. And there you go, Netscape. I'm sure the two of you also remember Netscape. Netscape was an old school one. Browser. So while Mosaic was the first mainstream browser that featured graphics, Netscape Navigator was the first consumer-grade browser that everybody used. For version 2.0 of Netscape, they introduced a new programming language called JavaScript. Guess what? We still use JavaScript today. JavaScript is still used today. That added interactivity and animations to websites. Trust me, animations, it was like a animated GIF. That's about, or a blinking text. It was not much back then. It wasn't very interactive. So GeoCities launched in 1994, a platform that made it very easy for people to create personal websites. This, in a way, was a precursor to social media like MySpace. People linked similar websites in groups called webberries. And then next, while there was code and web pages to style typography and simple graphic elements since 1996, near the beginning of the .com era, it wasn't until Internet Explorer 5.0 for the Mac in the year 2000 that a web browser was able to render nearly 100% of the spec. So before that, Netscape and Internet Explorer would only half-ass the implementations. And half-ass is Bradford. He put that in there, okay? Blame him. And this, how many people remember this movie? Space Jam. That's right, Space Jam. Michael Jordan and Bugs Bunny and all that. Kind of funny. So Space Jam was a real novelty movie. I say novelty because it probably is horrible to watch these days. A relic. Yes, Emily, it is a relic for sure. But this site utilized Flash. Oh, kind of like the sequel, LeBron. Oh, I didn't see the sequel with LeBron. Funny. But anyway, this was the original Space Jam, and it was a Flash site. Flash was released in 1996 and quickly became a popular tool for creating interactive content with lots of effective interaction and animation. Flash was also used for playing videos, content, and creating games. And I'm going to pause on that for a minute because Flash was one of the reasons why I got into website design back in the day. And I did it because it allowed me as a designer that was, whenever I graduated from City, I got hired. Any of you guys know Maylin and Amy Levine? Anybody know Maylin and Amy Levine from Visual Asylum? They taught at City? No? Good. Well, they've taught at City quite a bit. And that was my first job. They were local branding agency in San Diego. Maylin is the president of the AIGA. I highly suggest if you don't know about the AIGA, that you become very familiar and active in the AIGA. So anyways, try not to ramble here. I was just doing branding. I graduated from City. I was hired at Visual Asylum. And I was just doing print branding and websites, right? I graduated in 98. So websites, the .com industry was just really kind of taking off. And these Flash sites were starting to become more mainstream. And I remember seeing sites like Volume 1 and this designer Michael Young and this dude called G-Monk. These guys, like all these like interactive designers were really pushing websites with Flash. It was kind of the Wild West. And they were just creating these very impactful, creative, expressionistic Flash sites. And that's what inspired me to start doing websites. And so I taught myself how to do Flash. I created my own portfolio. And then I worked at Hollis Design. Don Hollis, he's also a local San Diego relic. And I ended up, after Hollis Design, I ended up going to a startup website company. And that became the beginning of my digital career. And I pretty much have focused on digital since probably 2000, the year 2000. So I've been focusing on digital literally for 25 years. It's as old as you guys were probably born in 2000 or something like that. Sorry about that. All right, so I pause on that because then, I'll get to it in 2 more slides on the Flash thing. This was some more, sites out there, addicting games that were Flash-based. And then WordPress launched in 2003, the platforms that popularized CMS websites. WordPress is still alive today. I hate it. I hate WordPress. I think it's boring. And bleh. Just my personal opinion, we're working on WordPress sites for many years. I just think it's lazy, 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 lazy. So, stopping there, follow up my Flash conversation. In 2007, this device was launched. Your Apple iPhone. The first iPhone was released 2007, and Steve Jobs hated Flash. Hated it. He thought it was not intuitive. It wasn't usable. There weren't standards around it. And Steve Jobs was all about standards and usability and consistency. And he said, nope, no Flash on my iPhone. Guess what? Flash in that entire industry died in probably less than 2 years. Every single agency out there that only did Flash sites went out of business. So I'm going to go back to the Swiss Army knife. You never know when your industry is going to change. You never know when you need to be adaptable and not stuck into one thing. You need all those tools to be successful in our industry. So when Flash died, I adapted. I wasn't just doing Flash sites. I was learning new HTML. I was learning, just new philosophies of websites and things like, things that related to websites. So I was really able to navigate and adapt in my career. And I pivoted pretty quickly. And I ended up leaving one agency that pretty much was all Flash, and they ended up going out of business, I think about 6 months after I left. So also the iPad wouldn't allow Flash. Let's see. Okay, we're at 2 o'clock. Perfect. We're doing good. We're right at 2 o'clock. So anyways, so in 2010, the idea and the best practices of responsive design was born. It's really important because it ended up changing everything. And man, boy, did we have to re-educate everybody. I mean, you have to re-educate your teams. You got to re-educate yourself. You especially got to re-educate clients. And then there was a whole different sort of philosophy, like thinking, because we were only designing for the desktop, right? You just got your little desktop screen, and back in the day, your desktop was only about this big. So we're only designing for these sort of thick screens. And now we got all these different sizes, right? And so in 2010, responsive design was born. And the place of creating separate mobile websites. So the media queries were introduced in 2012, and it was allowing easy screen size dependent layouts in CSS. But here's one thing that Bradford didn't touch on, though. Responsive is one philosophy. And then adaptive was a different philosophy. And there was 2 sort of philosophies behind it. Responsive, or what we call liquid or fluid layout, is the true responsive design. I'm going to pause on that. Can anybody tell me what that really means? Does anybody have sort of an idea of what a real responsive website truly means? Anybody?
A website that works.
Okay. Anybody else?
Is
Janet?
it when you look at a website like on your mobile phone, it'll kind of like break down the elements in like a cohesive way, like in a vertical format rather than like a wide horizontal format, and that's like easier to like look at. in a
Yep.
smaller device.
Correct. Yes, you're right. Anybody else? And then I'm going to jump over to my web browser to show you what it really means live. Anybody else? Please. Hmm? Okay, if I don't get more people, I'm going to start calling on people. I'm going to let you know. I will call on people. So be ready. Okay? All right. So let's jump over here. And I'm going to show you what a real responsive site is. My own site. Why not, right? Can everybody see that? Paul Bradley drove in, design matter. Everybody see that? Yeah? Good? Okay. My site is a true responsive design and built site. And what that means is it doesn't matter what screen size it's at. It's constantly maneuvering and resizing and reorganizing. So, and I pause on that because before we really got to this point, back in the day, a lot of programmers didn't know how to do this. And what we had was what we call a term adaptive or breakpoints. So you would see certain sites that was coded, hard coded at one size, and then it had a breakpoint at another size, and then it had a hard breakpoint at another size. So what that meant was these type of programmers didn't know how to do, and I'm going to live resize it here. You see how it keeps, right? All right, it's still resizing. Images are changing size on the fly. And then whenever I get to a certain point, it clicks in and provides, because it understands the width now, doesn't allow, whenever I go a little bit wider, right? A little bit wider, you see my navigation at the top. So I have an exposed nav up to a certain size. But then once I go down to about right there, then my menu icon kicks into gear. So Squarespace and a lot of other platforms like Webflow, and I look over here because just to let you guys know, your videos are over here, but my camera's over here. So maybe I actually should do this. Hold on, let's change this. There you go. Now I can look at the camera and you guys. Is that better? It's better for me. So one thing to kind of consider right now while I'm sort of talking at the camera is the true responsive design is what we call a fluid or liquid layout. Everything is resizing and maneuvering and restacking. Just like see how it just stacked? See how it's two column? And then it hits that one size and boom, now it stacks. And I'll just show you what it does whenever I go wide. Resizes. So it's really important for everybody to understand that terminology because clients, I'm telling you, clients still don't get it. They still don't really grasp like this, what responsive design and usability and thinking really is. So I wanted to show you truly what that means when it comes to what the heck? Sorry, guys. My cursor is going real wacky. That was weird. It's still going weird. I don't know what's going on right now. Is it okay for you guys? Yeah? Oh no, something weird. There was a ghost in the machine just now. All right. So Again, wanted to pause on that because it's an important thing for us to offer you, for everybody in the class to truly understand what responsive design is. Okay, next. 2015, the concept of mobile first design was widely adopted. And I'm going to stop on that. And I'm going to call somebody out. Who hasn't? Dylan, I see you with your camera and your headphones on. Hi, Dylan.
Hello.
Hello there. If you don't know it, don't feel like I'm trying to embarrass you or call, but do you have any idea sort of what mobile first means and kind of why it's important?
Designing a website for mobile proportions versus designing it purely for like bigger screen. Because I mean, most people will do it on their phone first anyways.
Perfect. You couldn't have said it better, Dylan. Like literally A++ answer. A++ answer.
Thank you.
What do you spend your time on, right? Everybody spends their time on their phone. Like you spend literally, you know, I don't know about you, but I get my notification of how much time I spend on my phone every week. I usually average between 2.5 to 3 hours, which I think that's not that much. I don't know. It's probably because I'm older, but it's because we are a mobile first society. And you said it perfectly, Dylan. So we adopted this mobile first approach. And again, I'm going to say something. You're going to come across clients that still don't understand that. And you have to be able to like help them and guide them to get them to understand that their clients and their audience, they're going to interact with their brand and their website on their phone. I would say it's about 80% more on their mobile device than on a desktop or an iPad or a tablet. So well said, Dylan. So as mobile traffic steadily grew, mobile breakpoints became the priority for many business categories. The mobile first design philosophy also promotes for a more focused final product. All right, types of websites. We're going to get into this. Bradford provided a really great array of different sites based off categories. So we're going to kind of go through these a little bit. And if anybody has a question and has a talking point on these different types of websites, just raise your hand or, you know, just chat, do the chat thing, okay? All right. So marketing and corporate websites. I would say that this is probably most designers' favorite category is marketing and corporate websites. It's probably also the type of site that you're going to be doing the most. I know for myself, I've done more marketing and corporate websites than, you know, most of the other categories that we're going to look at today. So marketing corporate, you know, every business needs a website. Most brand websites are marketing websites. They promote the business, they promote the services, the products, etc., you know, of the company. This example is the website of a golf and beach club in the UK. But this category includes law firms, automobile manufacturers, event websites, and just a ton of everything. So this looks like Costa Rica to me. Sure does.
I was gonna say I didn't know the UK looked like that.
I know. I'm like, are you sure, Bradford? Because this doesn't look like. So he said it was a website for a golf and beach club. That don't look like the UK, bro. That's Costa Rica. I know that's Uvita right there. I gotta get him to fix that because I know that place. Anyways. Next, publishing and information. So publishing and informative sites. So whether it is a news organization, a blog, a tabloid, or a government website that is trying to inform the public of something, these websites are focused on delivering content. And this content doesn't have to be text-based, it can be video. So I'm also going to pause on that because publishing information websites are primarily dynamic content, where when we go back to the UK jungle here, because this all these beautiful beaches in the UK. Most of the content in these type of sites are static. And I don't mean when I say static, static like a static image, it's more like fixed and hard-coded content. So yes, it does have videos and it does have motion, but it's not being updated like constantly like a news site, right? So you do a headline and that headline's going to stay for weeks and months and maybe even years. So this is an example more of a static content website where publishing information is dynamic. So put a pin on that. We're going to talk about that a little bit later, maybe, possibly. Portfolio. Showed you my portfolio. Most students have a portfolio. I highly encourage you to have a portfolio because it's the best way to showcase your thinking, your problem solving, and the breadth of your student work. And there's so many platforms out there like Webflow and Squarespace that make it very easy to create a portfolio site. So this actually belongs in the marketing category, but we separate it since it's particularly relevant to creative professionals. Okay. Next is e-commerce. E-commerce, I've done quite a few e-commerce sites as well. E-commerce are online stores. These websites are dedicated to promoting and giving information about the products and then facilitating the purchase of it. So most e-commerce sites are kind of a combination of static and dynamic content. So it's a strong sort of balance between the two. All right. Next, web applications. I'm sure nobody knows about Instagram on here, or TikTok, or all the other apps, the hundreds of apps that you probably have on your phone, which are a nightmare to cross-navigate through, right? Because none of them are really that consistent. It used to be a nightmare way back in the day. At least there's some standards these days. So web applications are downloaded software that use the web as a platform. Some of these applications are actually mobile native apps that have web versions, like social media platforms, like YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, all that stuff. Many business-oriented applications use the web app as the primary or only platform. HubSpot, MailChimp, like I said, Webflow, Salesforce, all that good stuff. So you guys are all familiar with these type of applications. A banking app, a gaming app, you name it, that's your standard web app. Now, this is not something that I'm going to really get into because I'm not here to teach you development. I'm not a coder, but I can build websites. But I can build websites based off of like Squarespace. Mine is I really like Squarespace. I know Sean and Bradford, and there's other people that also prefer Webflow, and Webflow is also great. A ton of advantages and disadvantages to Webflow, but I'm not here to get into this next slide, HTML, CSS, or JavaScript. So, content is based off HTML, styling is around CSS, and interactivity is JavaScript. So if you want to learn more about these, I recommend and highly encourage you to find some classes that focus on this, or maybe there's people in the class that might know more about this stuff, but I'm not going to get into this. It's just go down a rabbit hole. That's not the purpose of this class. So when it comes to kind of the code for websites, the code for a website is sent to your device from a server and is compiled by your browser. Your browser is sort of your platform, and then you have your device, which renders the website into a visual form. And not to get crazy philosophical, but it's only a matter of time, right? We're already seeing it with Oculus Rift and glasses and all this stuff that is more virtual reality based. The idea of this little brick, I like to call it the little brick in your hand, is going to go away. It's going to go away. And then you ask yourself, well, how do I design? Like, what do I design for? Well, that's where you're going to have to problem solve. You're going to have to problem solve for like virtual reality and the Oculus Rift. Does anybody have any of those VR devices here? Anybody? Or like the weird little Meta Ray-Ban glasses? Anybody? Yeah, I don't either. But it is the future. So imagine, you know, I don't know how many of you have seen those screens or even just tried one on. Man, it is wild, right? Because now you're stepping into whether it's augmented reality or virtual reality. Question, I'm going to ask, can anybody explain the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality? Yes, Dylan, raise your hand. Go for it.
Virtual reality, all of it's digital. Like there is no interaction with the real world. Augmented reality, like it adds something into like a regular video, you know? I don't know how
Later.
to explain that properly. Yeah.
Well said.
The
Again, well
mix.
said.
Yeah.
Right? So to echo what Dylan said, virtual reality is like the Oculus Rift and those type of devices where they're inclusive of what you're looking at. It is a full digital environment that is being rendered, like Dylan had said, it is being rendered in front of or on a screen or whatever, right? In front of your eyes. But augmented reality, very similar to like, you know, the Meta glasses or the Apple Vision Pro. The Apple Vision Pro does both. Apple Vision Pro creates a virtual reality and an augmented reality. Not sure if anybody knew that, but what it can do is it literally like is a camera that displays what's in front of you and then augments things over top of it. But then it can also shut that down and become a completely immersive virtual reality space. So I encourage everybody to kind of become familiar, and I should have included this, maybe Bradford has it in one of the other lectures, is, you know, the difference between virtual reality and augmented reality, but that kind of gives you sort of the synopsis of it because, you know, this little device is going to go away at some point, and we are going to be immersed into these environments that will not rely on you holding something in your hand. So get ready. It's probably not that far away. It really isn't. So, all right. Oh, here's the static versus dynamic I was babbling about. So yeah, we already kind of touched on that, right? The difference between sort of static and dynamic. So static content remains the same, like I said, for every user, does not change. But yes, it doesn't change, but when we're talking about responsive, it is sort of, you know, based off the layout, it changing the layout, but not actually the content's not changing. Excuse me. So like this link here, and you can click on it when you access this presentation. The Apple iPhone 16, when you go to that web page, that is a static marketing page. Even though there's video and interactivity in it, it's still a static. excuse me, and I already kind of explained what dynamic was, kind of, you know, new sites and all that good stuff. All right, so I'm gonna kind of breeze by this a little bit because I already mentioned it. We in the City College kind of department and what Bradford and Sean had recommended, we primarily use Figma. And the reason why we primarily use Figma is because it is turned into a tool that provides so many different options. Instead of bouncing between kind of different applications, it's very inclusive of a lot of different tools to design. Whether you're mainly designing digital, or you're designing an app, or you're designing web wireframes, or you can even design for print. You can design brochures. You can do social marketing. I use Figma to create banner ads. I design banner ads in it. I link in different sort of tools and apps like Jitter to then be able to animate my banner ads. So Figma has turned into such an incredible, useful tool that it's kind of put Adobe XD and Sketch out of business. Like, they're pretty much obsolete at this point. So, does anybody got any questions about that? All right. Oh, yes, Melinda, you raised your hand?
Yeah. So, like, do you design things in Adobe, like graphics and stuff, to like use in Figma, or like?
Yeah, you absolutely can. They're very compatible with each other, so you can do it in a variety of ways. You can import into Figma. Sometimes you can copy and paste like vector files from Illustrator. I usually do that a lot of times, but it's either importing or sometimes copying and pasting. So you can, of course, I use Photoshop and Illustrator all the time. I also use InDesign quite a bit for large scale print documents that I'm designing, or statements of work or invoices. I'll use like InDesign. But let's say I need to do like image updating and image editing, I use Photoshop. If I'm designing a logo, I'm usually using Illustrator. But if I'm doing kind of large scale print documents, right now I'm still kind of using InDesign. But Figma, I absolutely could use Figma because you can export as a high-res PDF. It's very useful. Did that answer your question okay?
Yeah.
Great. Anybody else? Cool. All right. So, goals of website. We're kind of coming up, let's see. No, it's 217. So you know what? Let me look here. I'm going to look through my own. Yeah, I'm going to get through this next section, and then we're going to have a break. So that should be right around the 2:30 mark before we dive into the assignment. Okay? Sound good? All right, so goals of website design. This is where I'm actually going to jump over to some websites that are sites that I've done to show you real world, like, problem solving and execution on, okay? And I highly encourage, sorry, I was just looking at somebody's comment. I highly encourage people to ask questions whenever we get to these, okay? So goals of websites. I'd like to quote Frank Lloyd Wright. Not sure if anybody knows. Does anybody know who Frank Lloyd Wright is? Just speak up.
The famous architect.
Thank you, Carl. Yes, Frank Lloyd Wright is a very famous architect. Just Google him. Tons of iconic architecture. He still influences a variety of architects today, and also non-architects. I love this quote so much because it applies to everything. Form and function are one. Simple. It's like the Eames chair. Form and function are one. You need to be able to sit in the chair. And when you take it to the next step and you design it thoughtfully, where it's visually appealing and it's serving a purpose for whatever reason, the form and function are one. So Frank Lloyd Wright couldn't have said it best. And one metaphor I like everybody to visualize here for a minute. So everybody kind of take a moment to try to visualize what I'm about to say. A website is like a home. Okay? Just visualize whatever home or house that comes to mind. It could be modern, it could be craftsman, it could be old school, whatever. Like you're kind of visualizing this like house, right? Most homes are designed 2 doors, maybe 3, average 3 doors, right? You got a front door, maybe you have a garage door, and you got a back door, right? Maybe like a door that goes to the backyard. Wouldn't everybody agree? Kind of most homes have an average of like 3 doors. Now try to visualize that house now with 200 doors. And each door, when you come into it, that door takes you immediately to the primary bathroom. Boom, you open the door from the exterior and you're able to walk right into the bathroom. Or you're able to walk right into a closet. Or you're able to walk right into the living room, or the dining room, or the kitchen, or a bedroom. Because every exterior door gives you access to a place inside the house. And why I want everybody to try to visualize that is because that's how a website is. There is no front door. There is no only 3 entries to a website. Does that make sense? Yeah. So there's not just your home page, and then I don't know, maybe your about page, unless you've blocked out an entry purposely for that reason. When you go to a big website like a news site, you can send a link to an article page and somebody's able to go bam right into that article page. And so one thing to try to understand is that that's why consistency in usability is so important, because when you're able to step into this experience, step into this home, or step into this website, you need to be able to have consistency whether you step into the kitchen or step into a bedroom. And that overall design aesthetic, like Frank Lloyd Wright, or the Eames, or Richard Neutra, which is a famous architect, they always considered that there has to be this usability flow. There has to be this consistency in thinking and style and design. Like your bedroom, like in a website, one page isn't painted blue while your other room is painted white, and then your other room is painted red, and then your other room is painted green. Like, ugh, God, how wretched is that? Everything is consistent and it flows and it has this unified experience. And that's why I just kind of like to paint that picture a little bit of why we need to consider, like, websites. There has to be this consistency of usability and flow and design aesthetic, that no matter where you enter, it needs to have consistency, whether you came in from the home page or like an article page. There has to be consistency. So, all right, now that I kind of hopefully painted that metaphor to everybody, they'll either remember it or forget it. It's up to you. All right, usability. Kind of what I was talking about. Create a website that is easy to use with intuitive navigation and a clear content layout. A usable website minimizes friction, helping users find what they need quickly and efficiently. All right, so responsive. We talked about responsive design, and I showed you my personal website. This website I did at my last agency I was at Partner at over a year ago. Is called Folklore, which actually I'll show you the website. And I oversaw all of the usability of the, well, basically, stepping back, I helped out with brand strategy, usability strategy, all of the target audience, all of the wireframing, all of the interaction and visual design, and then also oversaw all of the production of this site. And it is called the website pontoons.com. So this site right here is a rather robust website. I mean, there are hundreds of pages to this website. And when we talk about responsiveness and usability, it's very important to maintain a hierarchy of usability, and that no matter where you're at in the site, there is consistency in responsiveness. So you look at this homepage here, and we just resize it, and boom. Resize for mobile, resize for desktop. You have an experience of what we call mega navs. Write that down. Mega navs. Boom. You go mega nav, which can be very challenging to be responsive. When you go down to mobile and you try to get into mega navs, you have to completely redesign, especially ones that are like that. You have to completely reformat. I'm going to show you an example of a mega nav that I did that is truly responsive. Yes. Who's that? Carl. Carl, right?
Yes, hi.
Yeah. Okay, Carl, go for it.
Did you say mega nav as in mega navigation?
Yes, sorry,
Okay.
mega navigation. Yes. We just shorten it to mega nav.
Okay, so I know what like a nav is. It's, you know, the bar at the top with all your like pages and stuff.
Yep.
What is a mega nav different than that?
Yeah, so your mega nav is a term that has this whole extra layer of information. So this mega nav here, when you click on it, see I clicked on models up at the top. You see that? And then this overlay, this very, I would say, visual mega nav. This is one of the most visual mega navs I've done. Also, Mazda USA, a lot of car sites have mega navs. This is a very robust mega nav. So we designed it to be able to have previews of the pontoons with the name of the pontoon, and also a little bit of like information about that particular model. You could also go over to Y Premier. We continued this mega nav experience because they wanted the same type of consistency, you know, to have this very visual representation of this content. And then finally, About Us does the same thing. But this doesn't work. This same amount of content doesn't work for mobile. When you get down to mobile, you're not like, for something like this, there's just not room for all that information now. Like you would have, if you were to include the photos, the category name, the description, then this extra little call to, man, your mega nav would literally scroll, right? So we had to condense what we call this mega nav into a mobile-friendly version. So this problem is more of an adaptable kind of mega nav. It's not a true responsive mega nav. Now, when I go to, I'll show you in a little bit, I got about 2 slides, this APX hockey site that has a true responsive mega nav. Okay? Any other questions? Okay. Nope. Yes. No. Okay. Great. All right. Next, accessibility. Accessibility is a very, very important topic. And it's more, how do I say this? We as designers and developers have to consider accessibility in a different way in some scenarios based off of other scenarios. Different levels of accessibility doesn't apply to every website. It just doesn't. And so it's very important to establish who your target audience is and what levels of accessibility you need to maintain. Okay? So, to design a website that is accessible to all users, including those with disabilities, by adhering to accessibility standards like the WCAG, which is the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, this ensures that everyone can navigate, understand, and interact with the site effectively. So, I'm going to pause on that a little bit, because when you're considering accessibility for large corporations, especially large corporations, right, where you have a very broad audience, you truly have to consider everybody. That includes disabilities that relate to sight, disabilities that relate to, just touch, or, just all kinds of things that might fall in the category of your target audience. And that's up to you and your team to figure out what's needed for accessibility. So, all I recommend is, I'm not here to establish broad accessibility, every single thing out there. Like my website, my personal portfolio site, definitely doesn't adhere to a lot of standards around accessibility. One, I have black text on red or red text on black. Like, that is not okay with certain categories of accessibility. Does that make sense? All right, so anyway, if you have any more questions, we can talk about that later, but I'm going to move on here. So this is the site I just launched. So visual appealing. So design a visually appealing website that reflects the brand's identity and engages users through aesthetics. So this includes harmonious color scheme, typography, and imagery that together creates a cohesive and attractive look. So I'm going to go to this website here. Whoops. Whoa, come on. All right. Now I'm going to pause on this here. There's a lot to unpack. And we can even get a little bit more into this, because I like to teach with real-time solutions, with real problems, with real things out there, not hypothetical things. It's easy to design for hypothetical things, but when you got to design for real problems, that's when the rubber hits the road. That's when you really have to dive into your tools and truly figure things out. I just launched this site about a week ago. I did all of the usability strategy, all the brand strategy, all the design strategy. I designed this entire site and I built it all on Squarespace. And I did it in 3 months. 3 months. I don't love red. My client loved red, Bree. It was a part of their new brand. But I do love red in my personal portfolio too. So I guess you could see that. I like black more. But anyways, this was a very challenging new project for me, because my client came to me and said, hey, somebody raised their hand? Yes. It's hard for me to see your name. Just speak up, please.
Hi, my name's Maya.
Maya. Okay. Hi, Maya.
I
Go
had a
ahead.
quick question. Sorry to interrupt.
No, please interrupt.
Did the client or you ever consider for fast moving videos, like this a landing page to have like a pause button. Because I know that can be kind of hard for some people to like read over videos that's like really fast. I just
That
had a
is a wonderful question. It's a very good question. Yes. There are a lot of considerations, especially in accessibility, Maya, that we actually include pause buttons on videos. Or what we do initially is we don't autoplay. So in certain circumstances, the video will have a button that you actually have to click to initiate the video. Okay. In this case, my direct client wanted this. He wanted this, and this is what was required by my client. So to kind of go back, a little bit, thank you. It's an excellent question. The challenges around this was a very conservative budget and a conservative timeline. And I'm going to scroll down to the footer. And there's more pages than this. There's over 30 pages that we had to custom build and design for this Squarespace site, and we did it in 3 months. And a lot of people, have a misconception that Squarespace is just all templates, and wasn't templates at all. I created custom templates and custom modules all around this. And we basically, and go back to the mega nav thing, Carl, here. My client wanted these mega navs here. So you see this one right here. And these are truly responsive mega navs. So when I go down to mobile, come on. All right. And I go up and I go to these sections. This is a truly responsive mega nav. I still have the imagery and the styling that's in these mega navs that I did on desktop. So unlike the Premiere website, those ended up being more adaptive mega navs that you were getting one experience in desktop and tablet, and then you're getting a slightly different experience with, not slightly, a very different experience for mobile. Okay, but these are truly responsive mega navs here. And yeah, to kind of go back to the actual topic of this, it was really important for us to create a visually appealing site, whether you're on the home page or you're going into these team pages here. That let me close out a couple of browser windows here because it starts getting a little slow. I have motion in here. I have reveals. All of this kind of slight motion in here. You can even go over to different sections. And this was, again, all custom built. Maya, this is an instance where we embedded the video and we allowed it just to have a play button. So, but I wanted to show you just some actual buttons. We had some slight animation on those. Nah, we'll get back to that later. Oh yeah, here, buttons down. There you go. Just some slight little rollovers. That's all. Rather simple. So this is a great example of a visually appealing site. And next, because we're almost done in this section, then we need to take a break. Consistency. Yes. Melinda, go for it.
Like when you make those buttons and stuff, like as the designer, are you just like making the layout and then someone else comes and makes the buttons function? Or are you also like doing that function part too?
So there's many parts to that question. So there's a couple of answers. The hold on. Pontoon site. This is a completely custom. I worked with a developer, and this is all custom that we made at Folklore. So all the buttons are completely custom. So when you come down to these guys and these little interactions, you see how there's different rollover and sizing. I came up with that. And I worked with a developer to do these. Okay. So when we got in, and then even different styles of buttons like these. So these are all custom, completely custom from a developer. But when we go back to the APX, I selected a couple of different styles of buttons. I had 3 options of different styles of buttons that I ended up choosing from. And so I have this outline, this white outline button that rolls over to white in black text. And then I have this other button style that I used right here that's white, that just goes a little bit darker. So I stayed consistent between only 2 button types. And I usually never recommend more than 2 button types. It gets too much. Like you're just trying to complicate things as a designer when you start introducing more than 2 buttons. So that's just my recommendation. Does that answer your question okay? Excellent. Consistency, yes. Buttons, links, all that stuff. So this is the agency that I was at for over 4 years. It's called Folklore. I came on as a partner in January 2020, and I retired from there in, January 2024. And so I was a partner and head of all creative and UX and also content creation at Folklore. We went from about 12 people to 30 people in about a year and a half. And we grew pretty quickly. And I just had the time of my life. One of my first assignments coming on as the head of creative was to rebrand Folklore and to launch a new website. And so this today, whoops, go back, is still one of my favorite websites I've ever done. Folklore Digital is a completely custom website, Melinda, and also Carl, since you guys are kind of speaking up. I worked with one developer, and he and I designed the entire site, and I worked with my internal team, and he created a completely one-of-a-kind, custom kind of portfolio agency website. And it includes like so many different subtleties of interaction that were very philosophical to us. We, in the branding, we kind of had this philosophy that as an agency, we immerse ourselves in our clients' brands and their target audience. And we become very sort of like, like water, we become very like responsive to our clients' needs. So we kind of picked up this metaphor of water. So when you, oh man, my cursor's acting all wacky again. I don't know what the heck's going on. What the heck? So did you see the logo kind of do this little water wave? You see it? Kind of has this very like liquid or fluid little effect. That was all custom made. And there's a lot of different subtleties in the design and the overall experience. Like when you even click this this button, if I can ever get to it, I don't know why everything's so sluggish right now. I don't know what's going on right now. There's something happening. But you got the link. You can get into it. It has a lot of different effects in it, where we have image overlays that have kind of this water effect to it, and those kind of things. And I'll let you kind of dive into it a little bit more. It's probably because I'm sharing so many screens that Zoom is kind of having a hard time right now. So let's just jump back over to it so we can get to our break. All right, so engaging. Develop a site that actively engages users through compelling content, which is, some of those different effects that were unique to this experience. interactive elements, like I said, that could be things that, are very subtle with the mouse, mouse rollovers or buttons and clear call to actions. An engaging website keeps users interested and encouraging longer visits and return traffic. So, finally, before we go on a break here, align with project goals. The design should align with and enhance the overall business strategy. Design with the project goal in mind, whether it's driving sales, generating leads, or building brand awareness. So I'm stopping right there. Before we move on to assignments, we're going to take, which is great because it's 2:45. We're going to take a 15-minute break. And I'm going to come back at 3 o'clock and get through the rest of our assignments and also kind of walk through the syllabus and open it up to conversation and also choose teams, okay? If anybody, please think about any questions when we come back in 15 minutes. If you got some questions or anything you want to share, let's share it whenever we reconvene, okay? All right, that's the first part of our class. I'm going to pause everything and turn off my video, and I'll see you in 15 minutes, okay? Hey everyone, I was just yeah, see, I think it's just I'm having probably some processor screen sharing issues. It's just having a hard time screen sharing with all the videos in Zoom right now. But you can oh yeah, it's really that's crazy. Oh yeah, really, Jack's not. Just go to Google. Fine with that. Um, oh, Canvas. So student view. Come on. So I got some people reaching out saying that this wasn't showing up for them. Does everybody have access to the Canvas?
No,
Who said that?
sorry, that was me. I checked right before the class and it wasn't there.
It wasn't there? Yeah.
The
'Cause it's
same thing
public.
happened, Carl, the same thing happened for me. And then I checked again right after class started and it was there. So you might want to check again.
Okay. And Dylan, you said it says it's blocked for you. Weird.
Mine also said that it was blocked, but then I reached out to Canvas and they fixed it within a matter of like 30
Hey,
minutes.
Dylan, you said it's there now for you too. Okay. Yeah, I
Yeah,
know. I'm new to this, and Sean had reached out to me and said, "Hey, somebody had contacted him, and then thank you so much because I had quite a few people email me too." Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody's got access to it now, and if you don't, then I would recommend just because I'm still kind of new to this process, you reach out to Bradford or Sean. Okay. Because right now in the student view, you can go to your modules, and here's the creative questionnaire. That is a link. Here's also a PDF of the first assignment. You can, yeah, I'll put the creative questionnaire in here for the assignment, but I'm gonna flesh these out. I'm gonna put the lecture in here, the link to the lecture as well. And everything that's based off of today's class, everything will be in Canvas for everybody to access. And again, if you're having issues with Canvas, I'm gonna have to, for now, point you to Bradford or Sean. Okay? All right. That was a good break. I hope everybody got refreshed. I know I did. My dog was happy to see me. Uh, so, all righty. Get into it. Assignments. Dun, 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 dun. All right, let's get into our assignments. So, the very first assignment, today's assignment that is due on Wednesday, it is to select two different corporate companies to redesign. And we will review together to select one to proceed. So, on Wednesday, you and your team will decide which corporate company you're going to move forward with. And I put this link in here because this Hadlestad Company is one that I did. It was a very small project, and I think it's a good example of what you can do for a small company. And I recommend that you try to choose a small company and you're not going to try to redesign Apple. Okay. You're gonna try to do something like this, where this is a buddy of mine. He's based out of Escondido, and he is a strategy consultant. And he came to me like a year ago and said, "Hey, Paul, I know what you do, and I need to invest in my brand, in my company." He goes, "I don't have a website. Even though you guys are going to choose, hopefully, maybe somebody with it. It's okay if you don't choose somebody with a website as long as you got content, but it's way easier for you to choose a company that has a website so you can redesign it. So you're not creating content. I don't recommend you try to pick a site or pick a brand that you got to create content around, okay? So it's just best that you just go ahead and choose a company out there that's just got a horrible website that needs to be rebranded and redesigned. So, but this guy, Scott, he needed a rebrand. Or actually a brand. And then he needed a really simple website. So we ended up creating a one-page website because he didn't have all this in-depth content, even though we could have created multiple pages and you would, click to those pages separately. We ended up coming up with a one-page solution. And, I wanted, again, to kind of share this because this is an option. You could do a one-page solution, or you could do a multiple-page solution. So for this, come on. Oh, man, what is going on with this thing? This is frustrating. Sorry. Let me close this out and try to go back to it. Yeah, there you go. Okay, I'm just going to use my arrow because there you go. So this is a Squarespace site, and we have a basic introduction, and then we have these 4 different sections here. And what I did was I created, you can see, a sticky nav. This is a technical term in our industry, people. Sticky nav, or something that sounds a little more professional, a fixed nav. So write those down. Sticky nav, fixed nav, it's the same thing. And what I did was, because this is a very long single page, I created this fixed nav that you can click on these different sections: services, about, testimonials, or contact, and it scrolls to that section. And what that is called is anchor links. Write that down. Anchor links. So I'm going to show you. I'm going to go back up. Oh, if my cursor ever gets there. Ooh, what's going on? I got to figure this out before next class. I don't know why it's doing this. Come on. Come on. Come on. You can click the logo and it kind of refreshes the page to go up to the top. And then what you can do is you can come down and interact with the nav if I can ever get to it. Really, dude. I have no idea what's happening here. Maybe, hold on. I'm going to turn off my video, guys, because that's helped before in the past. I apologize. Let me close one of these out. It's got to be Zoom, man. This is like literally. I'm going to turn my video off for a minute. Now I'm going to go back to this site. See if that helps. All right. Stop it. There you go. Anchor link. Finally. Next one. Boom. Next one. Testimonials. Next one. Contact. So a very effective way of having a navigation system in a long scrollable site, a single, what they call a single page site. And then I also include a back to top, just shoots you right back up to the top. So, all right, fine. Man, what a struggle, this video sharing. Okay. Next, let's go back to Figma. Oh, all right. Yeah, we talked about, man, jumped all the way ahead. There you go. Whiteboards. So if you're not familiar with Figma, Figma has whiteboards, and whiteboards to me, especially in the team setting, when you got, you're going to have your team, these whiteboards are great sort of environments that you can collaborate on. So let's see here real quick. Let's see if it'll open up here. Give it a second. I want to open up here instead. And close it out. Just give it a second to load. All right. So if you're not familiar, I know there's other styles out there. This is a whiteboard. And what's cool about this is I recommend, you create them for yourself, for your projects. It's where you can kind of dump all your information at, and literally like you can do these big views of a working session. Oh, sorry, I just saw your question. Marie, did you have a question for me a while ago? Or just
Yeah.
right now? Yeah.
Yeah. So for when you're designing the web page portion of it,
Yeah.
did you want me to wait? I'm sorry.
No, go ahead. Yeah, absolutely. Ask.
So when you're designing like the web page portion of it and there's the navigations and the links that you click to get to the other stuff, is that something that we have to know how to do as well, or is that something that like say a developer does?
It depends. So, as far as, let me make sure I understand your question. You're asking, do you need to know where these links need to go? Is that right?
Yes, like how to click, like how to get if you click on it and it goes to
Gotcha.
another page. Do we need to know how to do that?
So you're not going to need to know how to do it in this class, but when you start creating these websites, for especially for yourself or for clients, and if you use these platforms like Webflow and Squarespace, yes, you will. So I'll show you an example later on. I'll actually open up Squarespace, the back end of it, and show you I'll open up the hood a little bit of some of these Squarespace sites. Okay? Yeah. But if you're working like that Premier Marine site, that pontoon site, the developer's doing all that stuff. And that folklore site, the developer is linking all that stuff. I wasn't doing any of that.
Okay, so you just designed like the layout portion of it then.
I designed it. I created the user flows. I did the wireframes. I did what we call quality assurance, QA. QA is testing everything. I did the testing of it. I helped with the content. But for those particular sites, the folklore and the premiere, those were completely developed or created by a developer, or built by a developer.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. Marie. All right, Dylan, you asked. You want to go ahead and ask your question for everybody?
Yeah, so I was we didn't really go over this a lot yet, but I was wondering if like because you said to choose two options. It's like, is it one that has a website that's bad or like we think is bad, or just one that we think would be cool to work on?
I think that's up to you, how much you want to bite off in a way,
Okay.
right? So you might just find something and you're like, you know what, I can do better. I mean, let's say the company's website is okay, it's functional, right? It's getting the job done. But you're like, oh man, I could definitely do better on this website. Or you can find one that's just absolutely horrendous and you're completely scrapping everything and truly kind of like revamping everything. So I think it just kind of depends on how much you want to like dig in.
Okay, cool. Thank you.
Okay, sure. So these whiteboards I just wanted to show real quick because I highly recommend that you have them for your personal use and then also for your team use. Cool. All right. So let's go back to Figma. Next. So this is the description of the assignment. Corporate website redesign. In this project, we'll be redesigning the homepage and one additional key page for a corporate website. And I'll go back to the Hatlestat Consulting. If you come to me and go, well, Paul, actually, I want to do a one-page website like the Hatlestat Consulting. That's cool. You can do that. I'm going to keep it flexible and open to you. Start by selecting a business in a corporate category from the next page that we'll look at. Choose a business with an existing website that is dated and needs improvement, but has substantial existing content. So that's where it's like, I don't recommend at all that you're redoing the content. Now, if you want to kind of introduce new imagery utilizing, like maybe AI, or you find, some of the websites out there that like Unsplash or any of those that are sort of community free photography, go for it. I think that's fine. We'll begin by discovering the needs of the brand and then their users through a creative questionnaire. We'll look at that. Current website audit and competitive analysis. We'll then plan the website structure and content through its site mapping and wireframing. And we'll go through all of that stuff, the details of site mapping, user flows, wireframing, all that stuff in another portion of our class in a few weeks. Finally, we'll build the visual user interface and develop related social media posts. And this is a case study of CBRE. CBRE, you can click on it later on and look at it. Very, very corporate company. They are a corporate real estate development and management company. They, at least back in the day, they owned probably the most corporate real estate in the United States and managed it to corporate companies. So I do not recommend you select a big company like that. I just wanted to show you just for sort of like, kind of conservativeness and just use it as a case study for a big company. All right, so we're going to walk through the industries here and ask questions. This is a great time to kind of sort of flesh out what some of these industries mean, because I'm sure there might be people that have some questions that need clarity around this. So the corporate website redesign, CWR, corporate website redesign industries. Professional services, that includes law firms, accounting firms, consulting agencies like Hatlestat Consulting, who's a consulting agency, financial advisors, recruitment staffing agencies, real estate. So real estate agencies, property management companies, CBRE, real estate investment companies, construction development firms. Technology, software development companies, IT services firms, cybersecurity firms, data analytics companies, tech startups. Healthcare, that's a big one. It could be medical clients, dental practices, private medical practices, healthcare consulting firms, med tech, healthcare, or even revenue cycle management or healthcare revenue cycle management. So let me pause there. Can anybody think of anything off the top of their head, just right now, that they would be interested in off of one of these industries?
Law firm.
Law firm? Why?
I'm kind of a nerd. What I've been following a lot of what's going on with the legal system lately, and like I heard the advice recently to do projects that you are interested in and to do portfolio projects that you would be proud of. And so, like, I'm just tying that to my interest.
Good. Awesome.
Yeah.
Well, it's a broad category. And I think that's a super interesting category because law firms, right? I mean, there's all different levels and categories of a law firm. You could, I mean, they're just in different sizes too. So I do think that that's a great category to consider because you could just do a mom and pop law firm. Or, again, I don't recommend you go too big, but you could do a good medium size also style law firm. So I'm gonna call on somebody that get ready. I'm gonna call on one of you that don't have a video. How about Emily with the cat? I love the cat with the spot on its nose, Emily. So I'm calling on you, Emily.
That's my son, Mikey. He's an idiot. But
what the image? He put the image there?
yeah, he's an idiot. So I just need to show everyone.
I love it. I love the cat. It's so cute.
I don't know. I like work in e-commerce, and do product development. So these are all way better than what I do. I don't know what I would choose. Probably cybersecurity, something completely different.
Yeah. And what interests you about cybersecurity?
Absolutely nothing.
Absolutely nothing. That's
yeah.
great.
Yeah.
Well, I think you make a good point, Emily, on that. You say absolutely nothing. So then what that does is that creates an opportunity to learn about a category that you know nothing about. So I think that's super smart of you to consider a category that could be a real world situation. So when you think, Emily, like let's say you're working at, a digital agency and, you've never had the opportunity to work in this category and now this lands on your plate and now you got to learn about cybersecurity. So I think that's an excellent challenge for anybody to consider is a category that they absolutely know nothing about and they end up learning something about it based off of this project. So yeah, I think that's great.
Cool.
Just because I want to say your name, is it Shaver? We can't hear you if you're talking.
Yeah, sorry, I stepped away for a second.
Did I pronounce your name right?
Yeah, you got it.
Perfect. All right, Shaver Jones. I'm just calling you out. What interests you? Which industry do you think you might be interested in?
I don't know. I'd probably try to look for an industry that maybe uses that I don't know the difference between the right and the left brain, but the more analytical side, industries, like you were kind of talking about, like small construction businesses that are local, or maybe small like medical offices, guys who it'd be nice for them to have a nice website, but it's not the top of their list to get done. So yeah, maybe like a local dentist office or a small general contractor who has a bad website and just try to freshen it up a little bit.
again, like you guys have really, really good thought behind what you're talking about right now, because that's so important. A lot of these companies don't really value sort of their image and their content. And a lot of times also, you make a good point that they don't even have the budget or the time, or they don't even have the resource to be able to go, hey, you know what? I don't even know how to get a better website. I just don't. That guy Scott, he didn't know who to go to, but he and I met each other through riding motorcycles. And he was like, hey man, like I don't know anybody that does this. And now I know you. And we ended up creating a friendship. And I love the work I did. I love his branding. It's clean, it's conservative, it's classic. It's a really great example of a clean, simple one-page like type of presentation. So I think you bring up a really, really good point that there's a lot of these industries and there's a lot of small companies that just don't have the resources to have a better brand and website experience. Really good point. Okay, again, I'm gonna call on somebody. Is it Kristen or Christine?
Kristen.
Did I call on you earlier? Did I?
No.
Okay, gotcha. All right. Christine, you said, right?
Kristen. Oh, well.
Kristen, I'm sorry.
Yeah,
It's just
no,
hard. You cut out just a little bit for me.
Yeah,
Okay,
sorry.
Kristen. Thank you. Kristen, I'm calling on you because you have the world behind you.
I did not mean to do that. It just happened.
It's all right.
I would
What category interests you?
I'd probably do something like real estate agencies because I mean, I've seen a lot of real estate sites, like small firms that don't really have the best websites or like the most easy to navigate websites. And I
Sure.
feel like it's kind of you're making a huge purchase and want to feel like you're trusting someone that's professional and has like an overall good design about their whole business. So,
Okay,
yeah.
so now you touch on something really important. What you're talking about is trust. And you're going to find as you get into this industry, trust is a very important factor. And there's always going to be different levels of trust.
Mm-hmm.
And so when you start, you get your work out there and you start getting to know people, you start creating a relationship with the client or a relationship with an agency as a creative, that trust factor is so important because there's going to be times that you might make a recommendation to something that the client just doesn't understand or might confuse them. And so there's going to be a very important relationship that you're going to have to create with your client, that they trust your input, they trust your expertise, they trust this thing that you do versus they do. Working with Scott, it actually was very easy because he had an approach and he just goes, you're the designer, you're the creative. This isn't what I do. I just do strategy. I know kind of what I like, but I trust you and what in your expertise. And that's definitely right. That's super ideal, right, Kristen? And it will take time for you to get there with certain clients. But you just bring up a very good point because the creative client partnership relationship is all built off of trust. And there's a lot of times that you're going to start it off where there might not be any trust at all. And you're going to have to find ways of solidifying and creating trust in the client, like creative relationship.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Good one. Great one.
Okay.
I'm going to do my best at saying people's names. Is it Loseb?
Joseph.
Loseb?
Joseph. It's
Yosef.
Yeah.
No, Yosef. Okay,
Yeah,
thank you,
yeah,
Yosef.
yeah.
I apologize. I'm
No,
sorry.
no, no, no worries.
It's hard to know how to pronounce sometimes people's names.
It's okay.
Getting to know them. So, Yosef, thank you. I appreciate that. I'm calling on you. Which category interests you?
I would choose somewhere in technology. I feel like it's more of a professional industry compared to others because I don't know. I always had a feeling that they have more taste in creating a product. So when I see websites, they always have like better websites, and they always put more money into that. So I feel like I would lean toward the technology field.
Technology. Which subcategory do you think is a bit more interesting for you? And
For
why?
me, it would be IT probably.
IT. Okay.
Yeah, or something with data.
Data and why?
The same reason I feel like because stop. I'm sorry. They have like more demand in customers, and that's why they are ready to like spend more resources. And as a graphic designer, I would like to like work in that industry.
Great. I appreciate your dog saying hi. What kind of dog do you have?
It's Beagle.
Oh, Beagle?
Yeah.
Oh, hello. Well, my dog would love to be in here. I have a 4-year-old Doberman. She takes up my whole couch.
I want to have that breed so bad. It's just
we rescued her about 2 years ago. So.
I did the same 3 years ago, and
okay, I'm gonna pick somebody else unless somebody wants to speak up. Did I see a Dana? Dana down there?
It's Donna.
Donna, see you again.
Yeah.
Sorry, thank you so much. I appreciate you helping me out. So Donna, what industry interests you?
I was kind of looking at law firm just because I haven't had a chance to do something that could potentially be more like sleek and clean looking and very professional. So I think that could be a fun challenge for me.
Okay. Now, we were talking about, sorry, I just forgot the person's name. He had said it too. Is there a certain sort of category of a law firm that interests you?
I haven't thought about that part yet, but I think once I research it, maybe I can narrow it down.
Of course. Yeah. Good. Excellent. Let's see here. Is it Lissandro?
Yes, here. Yeah, Alessandro.
Lissandro.
Yeah.
Which industry are you interested in?
Well, I'm between healthcare and technology.
Okay, and why?
Healthcare is it's very important. Every time most people if they need health if they're sick or anything. It's very important that for example if somebody wants to get a career in that, then there's a lot of work opportunities for healthcare.
Yeah. Which subcategory do you think you're more drawn to?
I think med tech.
Good. Med tech. Excellent. Awesome. And you also said technology, right?
Yes.
Which subcategory you think are you most interested in?
I think software development.
Gotcha. And why?
Just to see software, I think it's the screen. That's to show off the screen, and just to see the companies how to make them on the display.
Yeah. Sure. Okay. Good. Excellent. I'm gonna call on this, and I'm gonna try to say your name the best I can. Is it Ezekiel?
Yes.
Did I say that right?
Yes.
Wow. All right. Got one good one here. Excellent. Hey, I love your background. That's a great background.
Thank you.
How fun is that? Okay, so which industry are you a little more drawn to?
I think somewhere around the technology side.
Okay, and why?
Hmm. Maybe it's because it's a specialty of mine.
Okay, okay, that's good. That's good. Excellent. Yeah. Plus, I love your T-shirt, Ninja Turtles. That's awesome.
Thanks.
That's great. Excellent. Thank you so much. I appreciate it. And I'm gonna do my best again. Is it a thrill? A thriller? If you're talking, we can't hear you. Does anybody know who this person is?
Yeah, it's actually a Trell, but he also goes by
A Trell.
Yeah.
Thank you. Boy, I really botched that one up, guys. All right. A Trell. Are you there, a Trell? Gotcha. Okay. How about is it Janelli?
Yes, it's Janelli.
Janelli. Good. I got that one right. So what category interests you?
I would say probably somewhere in the healthcare. My mom works in the dental field, orthodontist, so it'd be kind of cool to work on something like that for her. Her orthodontic is a small practice, so it'd be nice to work on something like that. Or construction. I used to work in construction, and my stepdad also works in construction, and he's starting his own company. So it'd be kind of cool to see if I can do something for someone small like that.
Gotcha. I thought you were going to say your dad is a famous actor.
No, I wish.
I'm sure you've heard that one before, so I'm not. Yeah, but anyway, I love what you said as far as you said, your dad, right? Is starting a construction company. I love that because I think there's something so meaningful and personal about helping somebody that kind of start their business or revamp their business a little bit because there's so many like things that you can learn and you can be impactful on because I mean, what you can do for their business is you can make them so much like impactful, or you can increase the revenue, and you could really make a big impact into their business. So I think that's wonderful, and I highly encourage anybody that has somebody that they know and they have a small business to help them out. I think that's why these school projects are so great because it's you're not getting paid to do it anyways, and so it's kind of a freebie. So why not help somebody out that could benefit from it? So good one, good choice.
Thank you.
Let me see, Marissa, have I called on you?
Sorry. No, not yet.
Okay, well, I'm calling on you now. What industry are you gravitating to?
I'm thinking maybe like real estate. Does that like go along with like architecture, like an architecture company?
Yeah, totally does. That's a good one. I should update this and add architecture firm.
Okay.
I mean,
Also,
technically, because architect firms, or honestly, architect firm probably would sit under professional services, actually.
okay, got it.
So if you're interested in an architect firm, yeah, that would sit under professional services.
Got it.
So that's what
Also,
you're possibly interested in, like an architect firm?
yeah, I just think like the pictures I could use for it would be really interesting, and I just kind of gravitate towards that a little more than like technology personally.
Totally. Yeah, absolutely. I see that. How are we doing? Oh, wow. We got 20. Okay, so I'm going to pause at that because we got about 30 minutes. Yeah, 30 minutes. So I'm going to get through, but thank you, everybody. I wanted this to be a bit more interactive, and this is what I'm going to do. So be prepared. I'm gonna take these times to kind of pull it out of you a little bit. Sometimes I gotta pull it out of the class because I know we're getting to know each other, and everybody can be a little shy. So I'm gonna use these type of moments to get people a little more engaged. Okay, so be prepared. All right. So next, requirements. Creative questionnaire. So that's the thing that you're going to start on Wednesday. I'm going to provide a link to it. We're going to walk through the creative questionnaire, and that's your next assignment. Then you're going to do a website audit and a competitive analysis. Then you're going to do a site map. Then you're going to do wireframes. Then a website mockup, a UI kit, and then finally, you're going to do a social media post to help promote the website. So that's what's a part of this main assignment, the corporate website redesign. This is everything that falls under this particular project, because we have two separate projects, right? You got the corporate website, and then you have the e-commerce. So and those are split, into separate projects. But this particular project, right, we're just kind of kicking off right now. Does anybody have any questions about that? Yeah. Good. Okay.
I'll ask a question.
Yes, please do. And who is that?
It's Carl. Sorry.
Carl. Okay, good. Sorry. Let me see. There. Excellent. All right, go for it, Carl.
Yes. So I know it's a corporate, rebrand, but so I was thinking my barber has like a small business, and he definitely doesn't have a professional website yet. Would that work for that?
It technically does fall under professional services. Personally, I'm kind of flexible around this stuff. I really am. I'm not too rigid around these particular industries. Because what is corporate? Corporate can be so many different things. So, yeah, but definitely remember, you're supposed to have two. So I would have something that immediately falls into these categories. And then also you can suggest this barbershop. And then whenever I did see somebody raise their hand, so hold on one second. And then whenever you meet with your team, you guys can decide which is the best one to move forward.
Okay.
I saw somebody's hand raised. Just go ahead and speak up.
I just kind of missed a section of the class, unfortunately. Like this is a group project, right?
Well, it's a singular project. It's your project. It's not actually a group, but I'm teaming you up in teams to help each other out. And the reason why I'm doing that, Melinda, that I explained up front, is because that's real world kind of experience. You're never really working by yourself. You're kind of always working with somebody. So I feel like that the benefit of starting this first project off in a team is you'll be able to help each other out a bit. So that's my reasoning behind it. But you're not working, like you have your own project. They're not helping you to design that project out. They're just there. You're just kind of a team you each have your own project. That makes sense? Good. All right. Excellent. Great questions. All right, we went through this, we went through that, and so this is next. For Wednesday, the lecture is going to be web design process, and the assignment is to select the company between the two that you've selected, like we talked about. You're going to have two. You're going to come to class on Wednesday with the two, and you're going to end up selecting one to move forward with. Then you're going to move forward with your creative questionnaire. Now I have a link right in here. I've also provided a link in Canvas. So there's, you have access, and what I had, let's see here. Let me just go ahead. I think I can click on that. Now I'm going to show you guys real quick what to do. If it doesn't slow down and I have a cursor that moves at a snail's pace. All right, let's see. Okay, so everybody pay attention to this. This is the link you're getting. This is the creative questionnaire that you're going to be starting next week, and you're going to use on your next project too. You see right up here next to the name, 143 creative questionnaire on the left-hand side. Everybody see that? Yes? Okay. You click this down arrow. It says duplicate. That's what you're going to do to have your own creative questionnaire. You can't edit this one. Okay? I can edit this one, but you're not going to edit this one. You're going to come over here, duplicate your own creative questionnaire. Yes, I see somebody in here right now. How do you say your name, please? Is it Joash? Josh?
Yeah, that's me.
Can you say it, please?
It's Joash.
Josh. Okay, thank you, Josh. So yeah, I saw you I see some other people in here too. So go over there, down arrow, click duplicate, boom. It opens up a new window, or it opens up Figma, and now you have your own creative questionnaire. All right? Pretty easy. That's not hard at all. So if you want to get a little head start on it, that's fine. I don't care. All right. Oh man, it's a lot of sitting, guys. Oh yeah, we do want to go through teams. I need to bring up, is it this? Nope, it's not this. No, it might not be that one. Hold on. Again, I'm still getting used to stuff, guys. Okay, here, I think it's my portal. So I'm gonna drag this over here because there might be some top secret stuff you guys can't look at. Give me a second here. Okay. Come on. And I'm gonna send this out to everybody the way that we're picking teams, and I'm just doing it real simple, everyone. So let's see. All right. Give me a second. Okay. Man, come on. Still trying to get to my roster, okay? What the hell? There you go. Ugh. Oh my goodness. These websites are wretched. Talking about a website that needs to be redesigned. The dang San Diego City College faculty website is horrendous. Oh man. So bad. Yeah, man. Like, can I get to my roster? Oh well, I'm gonna have to figure it out later because their site is just so bad. It's like it's not even can't even get to my class now. Ugh. All right. Well, anyways, I'll figure it out later because their website is wretched. Look here, I'm going to show you real quick. Look at this. Terrible. And broken links. They got broken links in here. Look at this. Just so you understand what I'm dealing with. It's so bad.
The student
Ugh.
one is the same too.
Oh, it's terrible, man.
The
Like,
messaging function is it's abhorrent. It really is.
it's so bad, man. Like I can't even get into the class to my class roster right now. So, anyways, we don't have to do it today, or I'll just send out a link. Maybe what I'll do is I'll just send out an email and I'll send out an email how I'm teaming everybody up. And literally I'm doing it by alphabetical. Okay, everyone, it's just going to be alphabetical. I'm going to start from the top and I'm going to group the first 4 people, then the next 4 people, then the next 4 people, and the next 4 people, just like that. So that's just how it's going to be done. And I'll send out an email as far as like how the teams are set up, okay, and who you're teaming up with. Sound good? Pretty simple. No need to overcomplicate it. I see thumbs up. Great. Awesome. Okay. I see a gotcha. Good. Let's see here. Let's go to this. Okay, last one. Oh, you know what? Syllabus. I mean, we kind of went through everything. I took a lot of the syllabus and already put it in the presentation because I hate jumping around between different forms. You guys already got the syllabus. I mean, it's just kind of the same stuff. I literally took most of this content right up here and I put it in the deck because I didn't want to be jumping to a PDF. So if you look at like kind of the course overview, the student learning outcomes, the objectives, and the accommodation, I already put that in the presentation. So what you can do is you download your syllabus, read through it. These are standard things: student conduct, hate-free zone, cheating, plagiarism, online tutorials, requirements, Canvas access. You're new to Canvas, Open Lab, all that stuff is outlined in the syllabus. I don't necessarily need to kind of like go through that, all of those details. We kind of had a conversation around artificial intelligence. Again, if you want to use it, use it. If you don't use it. It's totally up to you. I also selected, let me go to, that's not the right one. Corporate. This is the one. Here you go. I believe I also sent this out or I posted it in Canvas. This is an overview of this project, right? The corporate website redesign project. So I already had the overview and also all of the requirements in the deck. So this is just repeating this. I also already said the industry. So I put that in my presentation as well. And then our next project is going to be the e-commerce, like I mentioned. It's going to have a lot of the similar requirements and process to finish that project as well. So that covers that. Let's take a moment. We got 15 minutes. We can either sit here in quiet time or anybody got a question? Yes, go for it.
I assume it's me.
Hi you.
I just want to make sure I understand the teams. Is it we all have our individual company that we're picking? We're all doing our individual website. So is the teams basically moral support if we get stuck, keep each other on track kind of thing?
Yes.
Okay.
It's there as a resource. You're able to kind of work in a smaller group and help each other out. And also it creates some camaraderie in the classes. I know personally, out of all the years that I've been teaching, it ends up being a natural thing anyways. I always see students start grouping together. I see it all the time. It's natural. It happens. But what I'm creating is, instead of students sort of picking their little friends that they want to group together with and help out, I'm creating a system in an environment that you don't choose. You have a team that is random and you're helping to support each other.
Okay,
So
thank you.
if we were in a physical classroom, I guarantee I would see the same students sitting together in their little groups every single time. Everybody does it. It's always that way. It's little tribes, the tribe mentality, right? So we're not that way. We don't have a physical class. So what we're doing is teams. And again, kind of going back to that whiteboard thing, I'm highly, highly, highly suggesting that each team creates their own whiteboard with their individual projects, and you're able to kind of go in and help each other out and collaborate in these whiteboards.
And will the teams change per project?
Yes. I might even change them right mid through. I'm not even going to tell you. Depends on how I feel and how things are going. Melinda, you raised your hand.
Yeah, I kind of need to backtrack a second. So I was like taking notes on like website building and stuff, and I trying to like collectively get an idea of like how many parts like do you really need to make an effective, like cool graphic, like emotional website. And so far I have an understanding of there's an aspect of web development, graphic design, and interaction. Is there something else I'm missing on that, or?
So it's a very good question. You're saying, let me make sure I'm getting it right. What's sort of the recipe, right, of making a website? It starts off by thinking, strategy. That's what we're doing first. So I introduced this creative questionnaire at the very beginning. That's why they're still using this creative questionnaire. I still use creative questionnaires today in real clients. And what it is it's the strategy phase. It's the phase of thinking. It's the phase of getting to know your client. It's getting to know their business. It's getting to know their target audience and getting them to understand how to think about their business in a unique way, in a strategic way. Because, like a lot of you said, when we were talking about categories, there's a lot of business owners, Melinda, that don't think about their business at all. They're just doing it. They're just day to day doing it. They're not thinking about like what their brand looks like or what it means to their target audience or what their web. They're literally just doing their work and running their business. So what the creative questionnaire helps is it gets them to start thinking about their business in a kind of a 30-foot view, looking at their business from a high level, helping you to start understanding their business. And now what you're doing is you're starting to talk the same language. Phase one. Then you start understanding who their audience is and who their customers are. Because it's important to understand who their customers are, because sometimes clients get very narrow focused. They're literally just thinking of themselves. It happens all the time. They're almost like just doing a website for themselves, or they're just doing this, and they're not thinking about their actual audience. And then you're like, well, hey, so-and-so, Brian, your audience isn't even like you. Like your audience, it might be younger than you, it might be like this and that. They might be from a different country, and you're not speaking to your audience effectively. So now you're getting them, and now you're going to start making choices that help their brand speak and connect to their target audience better. through branding, through a better logo, through color palettes, through fonts. And then you get into the website and you start thinking about the usability of it, right? How many pages do you need? How many, like, what's the amount of content? Do their audience need to read a lot? Do you want your audience to read a lot? Do they read a lot? If they don't, why are you putting paragraphs and volumes of text on your website when nobody reads? And then you start designing based off of those other, right? Those other ingredients to start kind of bringing your website together and making effective solutions and suggestions. Because the one thing, if you don't have a reason for what you're suggesting, then don't suggest it. You need to always have a reason for what you're suggesting to a client. And I use this as an example. I had this one client, his wife was obsessed by this, I thought, god-awful blue. It's this blue that was absolutely hideous. And we went through kind of our questionnaire and we talked about target audience. And this blue literally was so off the mark for their audience and their brand that it's like I had to come to like my client and come to them with a very detailed explanation of why this blue was not right for the decisions that we were making. And I ended up convincing them to not use this blue, but I had to come to them with a very thoughtful and convincing sort of solution. Good question. Thanks, Melinda. How about anybody else? Anybody else got something that they're thinking about? Oh,
I do. It's
you
me,
do?
Carl,
Okay.
again.
Carl. Also, what's your favorite Tool album? This is a hard one, man.
Well, it's Opiate. That's why this is
That's a
my
good
favorite.
one, man.
Not a bad
No, no.
tune on that. Some of the best sound engineering, even to this day. I
I
mean,
know that's a good one.
yeah,
But Undertow is, yeah,
close second.
that's a good one. Anyway, sorry guys, I'm a big Tool fan.
Nice. Okay, so more of a general like design question. And I hear like you hear a lot of this in the intro courses especially, but like problems, design problems, solutions to
Yes.
problems. I'm like, what are all these problems? Like what problem? I don't see like what do they mean by that?
Carl, you're a creative therapist. That's what you are.
Okay.
I mean, really, I joke, but I mean, you're kind of a creative therapist. Okay, great example. We won the Mazda USA website account when I was at Mirum. I was at Mirum. We're a global digital agency. I oversaw all of North America creative. And in the San Diego office, we won this very large website. If you know, you can pull it up on a web browser. It's still alive today. Mazda USA. We won it. But they came to us. The initial ask was, we just want a new website. Our website's outdated, doesn't work right. That's what they thought. They came to us with what they thought like their problem was or their ask was. But when I ended up diving in and I started getting to know them a bit better and started talking to other divisions of Mazda, Global 2 from Japan, I found out they had a much bigger problem. And the problem was nobody was talking to each other. The website division was not talking to the design division, and they were located in the same city, Irvine. So the design division was in one building, the marketing and the website was in another building, and they didn't even talk to each other. Then I found out through the design, and then whenever I met with Global out of Japan, I found out that they had this very ambitious 5-year plan of rebranding Mazda from every level. Their car designs, their all of their marketing, like all of the car dealerships, everything had this 5-year plan of becoming more premium. So if you look at the way Mazdas used to look, where they had the little mouth, a little happy smile on them, to kind of the new designs, I was a part of that whole initiative. And the problem that they didn't even know they had, Carl, was everybody's talking but they're not talking the same language, man. And I had to stop. I stopped the entire project. I go, stop it, at least stop my part. We need to take a step back because you guys have this very large initiative of branding. And what we ended up doing, and you can read through my case study through my personal site, we helped them create a brand strategy and brand attributes. And it was premium, real, and ownable. And then we created definitions behind those. And then they were able to use those to start checking the boxes of everything they did. Everything from the dealership designs to even influencing the car designs to the website. So when you ask about all these problems, guess what? There are times when clients don't even know they have problems. And again, you're a creative therapist. You're asking questions. You're asking questions. And then you're kind of pulling it out of them. And you're like, wait a second, man. Like, we need to tackle this part before we tackle this part. So, yeah. Great one. Good question. All right. So thank you. Unless anybody else has any other questions, we are literally coming to the end. Right? Any other questions real quick? No? All right. So I'm going to end it with a Charles Eames quote. I think this applies to everything, but especially interaction. Eventually, everything connects. People, ideas, objects. The quality of the connections is the key to quality per se. So he wrote this back in the 60s when he was thinking of product designs and architecture and fabric and film and all of this stuff. And it's still so relevant today. You know, like thinking, it's always about the quality of connections. And our job as a creative and designer is to sometimes peel back the layers and be that creative therapist that asks questions. Don't be afraid to ask questions. Or else, guess what? They're just going to tell you what to do. We're just going to tell you what to do if you don't ask questions. And you get in there and you start helping to solve problems. Because I don't know, for me, like, again, you guys have seen it. I've been doing this for a very long time. And I've always been a very inquisitive person. I've always got like, wait a second, like, let's take a moment to kind of step back and think about like all of this and let's absorb it a little bit and let's ask why. So don't ever be afraid to ask questions, especially in this class. I'll stop everything to try to answer a question. So that's it, everyone. First class. Congratulations, you got through it. Way to go. All right. So that's it. It's 4:10. Thank you. Everybody knows what their assignment is for Wednesday. I will follow up. You'll see an email that comes through that's got this lecture. You can click on it, go to links, check out all that stuff. You'll see also which team you're going to be in. And that's it. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I'm going to end it there. Have a good day. Talk to you Wednesday.
See you later.